How's it, guys? This is Dayvy FPL and welcome back to another Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video we're going to be going over the Game Week 8 preview, as I usually do with these previews over on my Twitter page at Dayvy FPL. I asked you guys for your questions and talking points related to Game Week 8. Surprisingly, no wildcard draft was requested, so unlike previous previews, we're not going to be going over a wildcard draft, but maybe that's because not many people are looking to use the wildcard, and hopefully that's a reflection on a good game week. So I'm recording this on Monday night, so all of these talking points are kind of relative up to that point. Obviously, Manchester United play Arsenal, and as the time of watching this video, you're going to be knowing what's happened in that result. So hopefully not too many talking points come out of that, but I don't think they will be. But otherwise, let's get on to your questions. So sit back, relax, and let's get into the preview. So firstly, as we usually do, just a little bit of a reminder, there is Champions League fixtures this week. So as we usually do, keep an eye out for injuries and minutes. Also, we might have signs of rotation that will be happening this upcoming game week. I don't think there's going to be too strenuous rotation, as there is, as you see on the screen, an international break coming up. After Game Week 8, before Game Week 9, we have a little bit of a 2-week international break period. So I'm sure a lot of the clubs are going to be playing their players, even if they are tired after a Champions League or Europa League fixture this weekend, as they should have a little bit of a break coming up in the international break. So not too much worries about minutes and rotation, but there are some transfer thoughts to go into the international break, and a couple of players that are playing quite abroad, which we have to keep our eye on. So as we usually do, just a reminder to keep your eye on your players and players that you potentially want to get in, as they are probably playing this midweek. So the first question and talking point we're going to be going over, and quite a highly requested one over the previous game weeks, but I'm going to finally address it, is what is my wildcard plan? I know a lot of you want to know my plan, as you're probably following my transfer kind of routine here and want to know when we're going to be hitting that wildcard button. But as you have seen in previous game weeks, we kind of have been going on a little bit of a roller coaster here, guys. We have one bad game week where a lot of people generally think we're going to be using the wildcard, but then a little bit of patience comes in, and then we go right back up and have a good game week, and we've been going on kind of a little bit of a dip. The main thing about the team that's quite annoying is half of the team basically are performing and the other half are not, and then it kind of rotates every so often. So I don't really feel the need to wildcard. Of course, there are fires within my squad that I need to put out, but I don't think it's worthy of using the wildcard chip, and I think we can kind of deal with these transfers with free transfers, or maybe even taking a hit. But if I was to plan my wildcard, and to be honest, I don't really know where I will be, but if I had to kind of predict where I'm going to be using it, it'll probably be around the Liverpool or Man City fixture swings. So I've put the fixtures on screen for you guys here, and as you can see, Liverpool kind of have a little bit of a dip in fixtures from now till about game week 13, so something to keep your eye on. I'm focusing on Liverpool and Man City, as they are kind of my main supports in my squad, and I do have a lot of the players from these teams, so I will be basing my wildcard on transferring these players out and bringing them back in. So as I said, Liverpool, tough fixtures, so whether I use the wild card to kind of take them out my team or to bring them back in is yet to be seen. It'll probably be to bring them back in, as it will be fine to transfer them out, as I only have Robertson and Mohamed Salah, so 2 free transfers there could be used to distribute the funds and then bring them back in around game week 13. But with Man City, it's not that cut and dry, as they do have quite hard fixtures, then 2 nice ones, and then 2 bad ones again. However, the Man United Arsenal games probably aren't as bad as FPL is listing them here, but I'm just using the FPL difficulty ratings here for kind of a good graphical representation. So if I had to kind of estimate when I would be using the wildcard, I'd say it's probably going to be around game week 13, as I then can bring in a lot of Man City players and bring back my Liverpool players as they go on a nice run of green fixtures. So I'm sorry if there is not this massive plan. I know you probably think that I have a massive plan behind my chips come the start of the FPL season, but I think that you know that the FPL season is quite unpredictable, so I'm happy that I've managed to hold on to it now, and we can kind of battle any upcoming turning points with our wildcard chip. So the next talking point is kind of my watch list. With my personal team, I have kind of a hole in defense, so I'm looking to replace it with a solid defender, which is why I've opted for 2 defenders on my personal watch list. but I've also opted for a midfielder. So coming up with Tomori from Chelsea, you probably have heard of him as he is absolute bargain city right now. 4.6 million. He did have a price rise from the previous video, but he did also keep a clean sheet, so that price rise is probably justified. He had a clean sheet against Brighton. They managed to batter Brighton, so a clean sheet was on the cards there always, and I'm really happy that the owners of Tomori were kind of repaid. The thing about Tomori that's so valuable is Frank Lampard's come out and said that he is the first or second choice centre back in that Chelsea lineup, and whether he's the first or the second, we don't really care, as that means that he's going to be starting anyways, as you do have two centre backs. So with Tomori, maybe monitor him over the Champions League fixture. I'm sure he will be playing, but I do think as a young player, he's adjusted quite well to the Premier League, and I'm sure he's going to have bundles of energy, so I think playing a lot of consecutive minutes is not going to have any impact on him at all. He has started the last 4 fixtures and played the full 90. He does look quite solid. The other player is Pereira from Leicester. He scored 2 goals this season, one coming in the last game, week 7. So maybe a little bit of a knee-jerk pick here, but I do think he's a great defender, and under Brendan Rodgers has been getting loads of exposure to that attacking side, and as a winger previously, he does know how to handle his attacking side, and I think overall, Leicester's fixtures are great defensively, so if you're opting for defensive points and attacking points, he looks an absolute steal, and definitely one to keep on the radar for maybe a Lucas Digne replacement, but we'll be getting onto that later on in the video. The other thing with Pereira is he's nailed to start, having played every single minute of this FPL season, so definitely one to keep our eye on, and I will talk about him later on, as I said. Then coming in to the last watch list kind of spot, we have Riyad Mahrez. Comes in at 8.5 million, which is quite cheap for a Man City attacker in my opinion, and having scored 2 goals and 5 assists, he does look worth the money. The thing to note with Riyad Mahrez, it's been kind of the hindrance always, is we don't know how many minutes he's going to be getting, but he definitely seems to be in form, and Pep definitely seems to be favouring him recently. At the start of the Premier League season, he wasn't getting that many minutes, but having come off the back of 2 consecutive 90-minute appearances, and if he doesn't start in the Champions League midweek, he definitely looks a steal, and someone that I'm potentially looking at downgrading Salah or even Sterling for, as he has played quite well recently. So these are kind of my watch list players, and I'll be going over them in my team selection video coming on later in the week, and I'll be seeing if we're going to be bringing in one of these players. So coming up with the next talking point, it's kind of the battle of the forwards, and I think this FPL season we absolutely spoiled for choice in the forward department. It's quite strange coming off the back of last season where the forwards weren't that profitable, but this season there's definitely some value to be had, and definitely looks to be a strategy of going 3 up front. So I've listed kind of the informed strikers here. I know Tammy Abraham has come off 2 blanks, so not really that in form, but having seen how many goals he's scored this FPL season, he does look like he's going to be having a stellar season, and one for our FPL teams. So coming up first is Callum Wilson, kind of this ghost player that seems to be going under the radar quite a lot. You can see this by his price drops. He's had 2 price drops, but recently he's risen in price, so maybe a little bit of validation there of how good he's actually been playing. But having scored 5 goals and 3 assists, playing basically every minute, looks to be a good option. Comes just below that 8 million mark, and I know it's quite annoying. A lot of us had him in at the start of the season for those 2 lovely newly promoted fixtures, but he just didn't really produce the goods there. But does look like one that we can be jumping back on come now or later on in the season. So one to keep your eye on. I know I probably won't be bringing him in unless I do wildcard, as I'm kind of set on my forwards of Pookie and Abraham and simply don't have the cash to upgrade Greenwood. So one to keep your eye on. With Tammy Abraham, I do have him in my squad. I brought him in last week for Barnes, having scored 7 goals, looks to be on great form. I know, as I said, 2 blanks recently, but I'm backing him to get rebounded back into that kind of double-digit haul region. Against Brighton, had lots of chances. I know it might be a little bit worrying having missed all those chances, but at least he's getting them. And I know one of these days he's going to be getting back onto that goal form, and then we're all going to be happy that we kept him in our squads. Coming in quite cheap, a top 6 potential side striker that cheap is almost criminal, so I definitely will be holding onto him, and I'm hoping that he'll get back into that form. Then we have Jamie Vardy, who's come off the back of a great game week against Newcastle. I know Newcastle had that red card, so you could maybe swing the stats a little bit, but the thing about Leicester, as I said with Pereira, is they have great fixtures ahead, and I'm sure Jamie Vardy is going to be backing himself to be getting a ton of goals. That's the thing with Jamie Vardy, he's always consistent in the Premier League, always gets a lot of goals, and kind of goes under the radar a little bit. I know his price is maybe a little bit annoying, but I'm sure that if you can squeeze that budget out of defense or midfield and put it in for Jamie Vardy, you're going to be reaping the rewards. Has played every single minute like his teammate Pereira, so definitely nailed on in that Leicester lineup, and I'm sure if you kind of want a consistent goal scorer, you can go for him. So these are kind of the battles of the forwards mostly. I know players like Pukki aren't performing that well, so you could maybe upgrade a player like Pukki or Barnes to one of these players, and I'm sure you'll be reaping the rewards come game week 8. So now the other question links in with Pukki is what to do with Norwich. I know that I personally am an owner of Pukki and Cantwell. Cantwell maybe a little bit softer on the abuse as he is quite cheap and mainly just a little bit of a bench fodder, but I won't lie, I was expecting a little bit more from my Norwich duo. I kind of listed them on the terms of Mount and Abraham, just the cheaper alternative, but they don't seem to be producing the FPL points, and a lot of people have been kind of saying that Norwich away are simply a team that you bench as they just don't perform. So when you look at these fixtures, I know you think that they got some nice fixtures coming up, but you just got to look at the home fixtures because apparently away they're absolutely dreadful. But as you can see, Aston Villa, Man United, a little bit of a tough one, but then Watford at home, who have been absolutely atrocious defensively. So we can maybe look at holding them on. I think I will be personally, as I just have other fires to put out, but I know a lot of people are kind of losing patience with these two, especially Pukki as he started the season so hot, but I just want to remind you of his price, and that if he doesn't score every game week, maybe 1 in 3 or 1 in 2, that probably will be good enough for his price tag. So maybe a little bit of patience is due with Norwich, as I do think they're going to be coming back on that attacking form. I think this weekend against Aston Villa is going to be a perfect audition for them, and then after that we can look at transferring them out. The other player that's been kind of highly requested of what to do is Lucas Digne, and seeing those fixtures, I definitely will be transferring out the Everton man come that Liverpool away fixture game week 15, as they go on quite a negative run. Everton have kind of dropped off in form a little bit, looking quite shoddy, so defensive wise they're not getting the clean sheet points, and attacking wise Digne is not doing the goods. So a lot of people are transferring him out. I can see why. Personally, I think I'll be holding for the Burnley and West Ham game, as I think I'll kind of assess that, as I know that last season against Burnley he got masses of points, so I'm hoping for a little bit of a history to repeat itself. But I do understand if you want to transfer Lucas Digne out, I might recommend a little bit of patience on this one, as he had some tough fixtures in the past. I know the Sheffield United one was kind of a loss, but I'm personally holding on to him, but I can see if you want to get him out. So now we're going to be going into the kind of informed players and the talking points, and the first one is Yarmolenko from West Ham. Started this season off with an injury, but has managed to recover that and has since scored 3 goals in the last 4 game weeks. So definitely an on-form player, and West Ham are overall quite a good attacking side. I know even with Lanzini out, he's been performing well, so imagine what he's going to be doing when those creative players come back into the lineup. But with Yarmolenko, it's a little bit of a tough one, as my midfield's quite kind of stacked now. But if I was to maybe upgrade Cantor, I could look at him. He does look quite nice at around that 6 mil mark. He's probably going to rise in price again before the game week 8 deadline, so just keep your eye on that. But overall, I can see the appeal of him, but I personally just can't fit him in my squad. I think if you want to kind of take a punt on a differential, I would go for him, but I would do it now. I wouldn't wait, as they do have some bad fixtures coming up starting game week 13, so I would kind of take a punt from game week 8 to 12 and then assess the situation from there. Now coming on to Heung-min Son, another kind of informed player, whether it be more on the assisting side. Since we last spoke, he's gotten 2 more assists, and I know that the Spurs fixtures were quite good, so I'm sure a lot of us were kind of expecting a lot more there. Comes in at 9.5, might have risen in price, so just care for that. But the one thing I wanted to note with Heung-min Son is apparently South Korea play a fixture quite close to that Watford at home game, and I think if you are owning Son, you're definitely going to be wanting him to play, play that Watford at home fixture, as that's probably the plum fixture of this FPL season. So just one to keep your eye on. I'm sure he might come on for a sub appearance if he does not start that game, but I think I just wanted to warn you guys a little bit. He is, in my opinion, the best Spurs option. So if you want to go for a Spurs player, I would go for Heung-min Son. Always produces the goods over the entire FPL season, and you probably can have a little bit of patience with him. I think the main downfall of Son is that Spurs are not really playing that well recently. An in-form player and an out-of-form team kind of counteracts each other a little bit, and I'm sure that if Spurs get into a better rhythm of things, we're going to be seeing Heung-min Son score some absolutely massive FPL points. So in my team, personally, I can't really fit him in right now, but if you do want to bring in a Spurs player, I would definitely look at Son. So the last talking point we're going to be going over is captaincy and who to captain. This week it's a little bit harder than last week, as there's not that great of fixtures for our premium options. As you can see, I have Aguero here, but there are rumors that he will be playing in the Champions League fixture. So I will predict that Jesus will play at that Wolves home fixture on the weekend if Aguero does play the full 90 midweek. So you can kind of rotate any Man City player you want into this lineup and you can captain them. I've just simply listed Aguero, as if he does play, he is the best option in that Man City lineup in my opinion. He was benched this game week, which has probably put a little bit of a dampener on his owners, but I would be backing him if he was to start. I personally have Sterling, so I probably will be captaining Sterling, as I think that Wolves at home fixtures are quite good, as Man City at home, as Liverpool are at home. They're just a different beast. So you can kind of rotate any Man City option. I think that they're probably the best. My second would be a Liverpool option. I've gone for Mo Salah here, as he is in my team, but you could go for Mane. As with Man City, Liverpool are a lot better at home. I know Leicester are on some great form, but they haven't kept a lot of clean sheets this season, and they do concede quite a lot. I know it hasn't been that many goals, but you definitely have to be backing against them, against Liverpool away. So Salah comes in second, and I think third is Heung-min Son or Harry Kane against Brighton away. Simply Brighton away is a tough fixture. Overall defensively they've been a little bit better. I know against Chelsea they conceded a lot of chances, and Chelsea probably should have battered them a little bit, but I think thanks to Matt Ryan they kind of conceded a lot less. So depending on how Spurs play and which Spurs kind of pitch up for that game, Heung-min Son could be a good FPL option. Definitely a differential going into this game week, so if you do own him, one to consider. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Please like the video if you did enjoy it, and subscribe if you're new or just haven't subscribed yet. Stay tuned for the team selection / my team preview for the upcoming Game Week 8, dropping later on in the week. But otherwise, thanks for watching. I'm going to be signing off. This has been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.